Hello everybody, so this is going to be a quick video. I've had a few questions and I think just in general it would be useful to show you my stream setup because it's a little bit fiddly getting a decent quality stream out. You can agree or disagree whether my stream is decent, but it's really useful for casting tournaments and for just general streaming. Having a good quality and good looking stream is pretty vital for the viewing experience. So to start off, I shall show you my OBS settings. OBS is the video capture and audio capture program that I like to use for streaming and for recording videos, and here it is. So first of all, you have different scenes, and essentially you can use these scenes to set up different sources. So for here I've got monitor capture at the moment, so you can see the monitor. If I was to have a game running and then I load up Quake Live, for example, then we have Quake Live showing. Another one here is cam stuff. So this is essentially just a scene for transitions. If I'm going to be right back, we can put some images in the background, and these are literally just some images I've got. So we've got few titles. This is starting soon. Over here, I believe this is the background, etc. And then I've got some other things for. This is webcam. Hello. It's very bright in the background. And we also have for this is for monitor capture. This is monitor 2 capture actually. Background we've got down there. Over here is the actual screen, so if you turn that off then you can see the background. And webcam, obviously it's just for showing webcam. You can scale that to the size you want. If you click edit scene and then hold out, what you can do is you can scale up and down, which is quite nice. If you want to move the thing but not actually, by doing this it changes the ratio of everything, but if you hold out and drag, then it allows you to change just a certain side, so you can kind of scale the box to be a little bit more square. Okay, so these are the actual settings for OBS itself. If you go to general settings, we've just got stuff. It's nothing really important. I don't want to save that. So encoding, max bitrate. Now I play with this a lot and I've not found a perfect one yet. Essentially, max you can actually enter without getting shouted at by Twitch is 3500. I've set for 3000, sometimes go down to 2700, sometimes 2900. Essentially you're just looking for a value where people can watch without having stuttering or buffering. If you're not a partnered stream like we are not, then essentially there's no transcoding option, and that means you can't set as a viewer the type of quality that you want to watch, unless sometimes it happens when you reach enough viewers, if you get about 100 or so, which we've had a few times, but it doesn't often happen. And unfortunately for an arena FPS game such as Unreal Tournament, Quake Live, Reflex, you have to stream at 60 FPS. You don't have to, but the quality is night and day from 30 to 60, and that means that you're kind of stretching a little bit at the lower bit rates. The quality does dip, but 3000 is quite nice. But even then, the problem is at 3000, some viewers still do get some buffering on lower speed connections. Use CBR on. I use 264 encoder. I might experiment with NVIDIA on. CBR padding on. For audio codecs, just AAC 44.1, 1:8 stereo. Mono, I think mono might be better in some cases, but I just go stereo at the moment. There's arguments for both. Okay, so I'm not going to show you my stream key. Also reconnect on, that means that if for some reason you get disconnected, then it does get you back on. You do want to automatically save stream to file. This is for a few reasons. First of all, you need to have a big hard drive for this to start off with, but the Twitch export system is not particularly great. If you're exporting from Twitch to YouTube, which we do a lot, being able to edit your videos from the actual video file themselves without having to download it with some plugin and then re-upload it is nice. So I always download them. And also Twitch does delete the VODs after 2 weeks. So you want to keep an archive of your previous footage. Video adapter, that's just your video card. This is base resolution, so you set this to whatever your monitor is running at. I stream at 720 because I want to stream at 60 FPS, and you can't stream at 1080 at 60 FPS. Not with the 3000. If you go to, I think even 3500, you're struggling. Maybe if Twitch allowed you to stream at 4,000 or 5,000, then you could get a really good quality stream at 1080. But to be honest, 720 is fine. Most viewers do watch with the chat open, so actually 720 is perfect in that environment. Audio. Now this is going to be touched on a little bit more when I go into the full audio section, but just for now, you want to have default and then Voicemeeter VB audio output, VB audio meter. So these are the two settings you want. Mic boost 1, that just means default. All these push to talk, you're not using that. I don't want to save changes. Push. So I don't really have any things, I don't think, set up. No, I don't. Okay, here we go with the more video settings. So here we have Muse multi-thread optimizations. I'm not sure how much it uses multi-threading, but put it on. Priority class normal. Team buffering 700, that's all just default. Now, this is very dependent on your CPU. I have quite a good CPU, so I can stream at medium. I could probably actually go to slow. I've streamed at slow before and it was fine. So I have a Intel Core i5820 CPU running at, this is actually, I think it's clocked higher. I can't remember what I clocked it to. Essentially, this is a Haswell E X99 chipset. Now, if you don't know what that means, it's a 6-core processor, and it's overclocked with a water cooler, and it's fast, which means if we go back to the settings, we have on advanced. I can encode a medium. It's a high quality. It's offloading a lot of the computation onto the processor, meaning you can have a decent quality stream even at a lower bit rate. There's probably better ways and better explanations that really go into full depth, but this is more kind of an overview setup. So if you have a fast processor, then you can run at something like fast or medium. If you've got a fairly slow processor or a standard one, then you can generally run it at like you run it faster or very fast, which does reduce the quality of the stream. CFR on, and then can't remember why I've got that on and off at the moment. I just play with that from time to time. But these general settings will be fine. Just make sure if you've got a slow processor, just set this to be probably faster, I would say, or even very fast. It's something you can just experiment with. If you're getting dropped frames, or if you're getting a high CPU down here, then that's when you want to be reducing this up here. Is there anything else here? This is just a Twitch default. You've got to leave it there. Quick sync encoder. I don't think there's anything here. All this is fine, right? So next up, and this is probably more important than the video. I mean, the video is fairly standard. It's just kind of a combination of your bitrate, your resolution downscale, and your CPU. So I do believe if you're using NVIDIA NVEC, then it doesn't obviously affect your X264 preset, because you're not using a X264 CPU preset at all, because you're doing the encoding on your graphics card. And I think for a lot of people it actually makes much more sense encoding on your graphics card than encoding on your CPU. I just happen to have a CPU that can manage it, so that's what I'm doing. That's pretty much all the settings. I'm going to go into the audio settings now. So if you remember, back to here, we want default and then Voicemeeter output. So first of all, I'm going to show you Voicemeeter and the setup, and then I'll show you a link, or actually I'll just put a link in the description. So here is Voicemeter. It is essentially using digital audio cables that hook certain sound inputs into certain inputs into outputs, essentially. So you're mapping for example, Discord is here on comms. You could also do Mumble or TeamSpeak or whatever. So that is an input Discord, and then it's mapping it to this output. And then this is all getting mixed down into the actual output on OBS, which is why I actually have this. Everything's going through the microphone input here. I know it looks weird, but this is how it works. The speakers, inverted commas, are off. But my voice, other people's voices, game sound, everything's coming through this. If we go back to Voicemeeter, so I have a few things here. We have A1 and B1 are the important ones to look at. Now we're looking at Voicemeeter, and there's a few things to bear in mind with the Voicemeter. It is free software, Voicemeeter Banana. There's also another one called Voicemeter, not Banana, and it gives you less different signals to work with. So I've got mic, music, comms, default, and then this is music, but it doesn't really do anything. It's just aux 1. Game sound comes through here. Anything like Discord, Mumble, anything where other people are talking to me comes through here. Music comes through here, and then my own mic comes through here. Now, the major benefit of this, there's a few major benefits. One is balancing. So here we have the comms and the mic, and a lot of streams have an issue where the mic of the player who's streaming is at a different level to the mic of, or the mics even, of the people on the voice chat software. What this allows you to do is very granular changes to other people's volumes, so you can get a really perfectly dialed in balance between your voice and their voice. Essentially what I try to look for is when I'm streaming, having this green bar hit about the 0 here. If you have it too low, and then you don't get much of this green. If you have it too high, it actually goes into the red eventually, and it just is too high. I'm sorry if I blew out your eardrums. Music is, usually you have that mixed down quite a bit lower. You can have that up and down. Obviously these will be based on your application volume as well. Voice Foobar, that's one. So if I load up Foobar and show you this very quickly, Foobar is a software that I use to stream, like when I'm listening to music on stream. So we've got here the setting to be -13 dB, and that I find that works well paired with the setting of -12, and that gives you a nice balance where it's fairly quiet. Just to show you on the preferences, the setup. So this will be different obviously on every where is it? This will be different on like every different software you use to play music. A lot of people use Spotify. I have used it in the past, but I can't remember how good the actual output is. So here we've got device on the output stage, or output page even, Voicemeeter cable A, and that is lined up with Voicemeeter cable A here, which you can set. So you can cable A, and then there's cable B, etc., etc. That's pretty much just my music setup for Spotify. If you're using that, I have used it once, but I don't like Spotify. Can you even set the playback? No, you can't. So you have to. I think for Spotify, I'm just going to play some music, and hopefully it's not going to blast your eardrums out. I don't even know what's playing. Oh yeah, Beatles. There we go. So, here we go. It's coming through here. As you can see, it going up and down. So that will bring the volume up. That will bring the volume down. The problem with this is default is also your game volume. So that means you have to have a bit of you're balancing two audio inputs on one slider essentially. The benefit of having it on two is you can balance them against each other more easily through this. So you can lower the game volume and higher bring up the audio volume without having to mess with each individual thing here. It's doable with Spotify, obviously, but it's not perfect, and it's not as easy. And also, another thing is you can't mute one source and have the other source going. So you can't mute audio and still have games volume because they're both being played through B1. A1 is a feedback to my ears, and B1 is basically pushing out to the stream. There we go. Hardware out is A1, A1, A2, A3, essentially. So that's why A1 is muted on my mic, because A1 is, then I could hear myself and it would be kind of bad. Next up, we have after music, comms, which I kind of explained. Okay, I'll show you the. So that's mic settings, music settings, and then comm settings, and I'll just show you how the comm setting works on an example. So I've got this set to -5.4, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how it's set up in Discord. So if you go to Discord, we have cable B input, and these cables are actually set up over here. So we've got, these are the recording devices, and then we've got cable A, cable B, cable C. And you install these as input, and then cable A, cable B, cable C. If we go back to Voicemeeter, close these ones down. Where's OBS? Okay, so if we go back to Voicemeeter, and we can see, there we go, cable B. And that has A1 and B2. So that means I can hear it. If I click that off, that means I can't hear it, but the stream can. If I click that, that means people who are on comms with me, I can hear them, but the stream can't hear them. Now, this is one of the most important and maybe powerful features of using this setup, is I have my volume, music, like people on voice, and then the actual game volume. So when I'm going to a break, for example, if I'm casting a tournament, I don't have to mute myself and deafen myself, which you would have to in other cases for this stream, just to hear the volume of music. With this, what you can do is you can mute other people talking on stream, and then let's say you just have music playing the whole time in the background. What you do is, when you go to a break, you click that, and then the music starts playing through to the stream. We can unmute me, mute the music, and then unmute comms. And that's really, really, really useful. I don't know if you've done any production before, but just simply being able to go to a break and mute stuff that you want and keep stuff on that you want is just really, it's great. Just one last thing is, if let's say you want to completely mute everything, you may be doing an intro and outro, just mute every other source, that is game sound, comms and music, and then that's just me talking. So if I'm doing an intro, I'll probably do it like this, and then what I'll probably do actually is I'll fade it in. So I might actually do it through that. You don't have to fade it in, you can just go straight. It's a little bit easier, but fading, it can be quite a nice effect sometimes. Finally, last but not least, I know this has been quite long, but I'm trying to keep it as easy as I can. We have the audio gate and the FX echo, brightness, etc. So first of all, we've got position. This is left and right. You don't want to fiddle that because it will sound like one person or someone's heavily talking in one ear or the other. What you can do actually is you can have position slightly to the left on your voice, and then position slightly to the right on the other people's voices, but it just sounds a little bit muddy sometimes. It's good for podcasts sometimes if you've got two people talking, because then you have one person coming for your left ear and one for your right, but it's not necessarily perfect. But what I do is I have a slight bit more bass and a slight bit more echo, both on me and on people on comms. Essentially what this does is just makes the voice a little bit deeper. Yeah, so not necessarily as good as a XLR input system where you have an XLR mic going into maybe a preamp which goes into a compressor, then that goes into your sound card. But this is a nice kind of budget option for those of you that can't afford a mixer, like one of those XLR mics and a compressor, and preamp and all those kind of things. And it just slightly improves the bassiness of the volume of people talking, which is generally a little bit more pleasant to the ear. People don't like screechy human beings, I find. And last but not least, this is probably one of the most important things when you're streaming, is having a a fairly high noise gate. So when I'm talking, I have a noise gate of 5.5, which means that I can, let's say if I stop talking for a second. So now what I'm doing is I'm clicking, you can hear me clicking now, but if I let myself stop talking, you can not hear the clicking as loudly off screen, which means stuff like chair noises, or a lot of the time when, let's say I'm casting with Cocaster and I'm making some quiet noises, or there's some noise going on in the background, like my boilers making sounds, it doesn't pick that up on mic. You do need to have your mic quite close to your mouth in order to have a fairly aggressive noise gate, but I do think there's so many things to be said for having things not playing in your ear that you don't want. Additionally to that, you do want a mic mute button. For example, if you're going to cough, or let's say someone comes into your room or your casting environment or your dog's barking, or some kind of situation where you need to quickly be able to mute your mic, maybe just sneezing. Last but not least is just these master selections. You want to mute everything except for A1 and B1. A1 is a one, like again, that goes to your ear for your headphones, and then B1 is one that goes to the stream. Is there anything else I need to quickly say? I'll quickly go over my mic setup, because you can have a fairly competent mic setup for a fairly cheap. There's two things, maybe three, that you really want to do. First of all, get a fairly quality USB mic. I have the Blue Snowball. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's kind of one of the middle of the road mics. Personally, I wouldn't get a Yeti because to me it's something that it's not good enough. You might, if you're spending that much on a Yeti, you might as well just go to a proper setup with a mixing board and a compressor and a preamp and a better quality preamp. I think I said preamp twice then. Anyway, if you're spending that kind of money, you might as well spend another 100 and then get a really great setup. Or you might as well just get a slightly cheaper setup and have it done properly. Now, one thing a lot of people don't do is have a mic arm. Now, mic arms improve your mic quality so much that I can't really understate it. What essentially it's doing is, with a desk mic, you have two huge issues. One of them is a keyboard. You can probably hear me typing, but if that mic was on my keyboard, it would pick up the typing vibrations through the keyboard, through the table itself, and it would just sound horrendous. So having a freestanding mic that isn't attached to your table is just great. Another thing is having it close to your mouth is really, really important. I'm just going to do a quick test now. I'm going to have a mic where it would be as if it was kind of on the keyboard in terms of distance, and then I'm going to have it back to where I usually stream and cast from. So here we go with position A. So this is where it would be if I had the mic on the keyboard quieter, and actually it might even be dropping and cutting some things out due to the noise gate. This kind of distance, I'd probably want. At this kind of distance, I'll probably want to turn the noise gate off. It's actually dropped off a couple of times. I'm having to talk a lot louder in my room, and you're probably hearing more reverberation and just general kind of, it doesn't sound as good. Now, if we go back to the usual setup, I can see visually that it's peaking a lot higher on my Voicemeeter, and I'm sure that audio quality is far better. I usually speak about 2.5–3 inches away from my mic. I have it fairly close, and this is really where you want it to get the best quality out of a microphone. I believe that's it. I've gone through the video setup in terms of streaming and the audio setup, and I briefly went through the scenes, or the skeins if you want to be technically incorrect. Now, I hope this has been useful to one or two of you. It might be quite a long video, but I really hopefully I think it's probably got some merit to it, if nothing else. There's some things I haven't gone over. Obviously, Voicemeeter Banana has a lot more features. You've got the equalizer here. You've got recording. I've not really utilised this channel at all. And also, just final thing on the Voicemeeter, you have different codecs here, WDM, KS, and MME. If you want to get this software, over here on VB Audio Software, you can just go banana, and then there's a download somewhere down the page. Please get the exe, and also the actual audio cables are somewhere around here. Virtual audio cable, here it is. And it asks you to donate for cables A and B, but I believe you can actually get the get a link to them without it. I'll try and find it for when I upload this video. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you're very well and having a good time. We'll have more content for you very soon.